Studio 33 AD, bringing you Catholic media.
The Catholic Church is everywhere in the world. This is not photoshopped. This is one of the Catholic chapels in Antarctica. So wherever you go in the world, you will find the Roman Catholic Church. This is an ice chapel. All right, so when you go to Mass there's a couple of things. You got to take a really good coat, and Father has to keep the homily short.
Shorter?
Yeah, shorter. On the night he was betrayed, yeah. It must be pretty beautiful.
Is it cold as hell?
I was just asked, is it as cold as hell at this chapel? There we go. That's right. In Dante's Inferno, that's the lowest part of hell. It's freezing. Okay. We're very fortunate this morning to have with us our rector, real quick, for especially our catechumens, those who have not been baptized, our candidates, those who are baptized Christian and are considering becoming Catholic. Generally, in every Roman Catholic parish, there's a pastor. And if it's a larger parish, there'll be a second priest, and that priest is usually referred to as a parochial vicar. The cathedral, though, is a special situation. We are one of a kind. All right, so you're already feeling a little special, aren't you? You're special. There's only one cathedral in a diocese. In our case, in 1895, our first bishop, Bishop Gloria, selected the church St. John the Evangelist as his cathedral. And when that church ended up, it was too small, he began the construction of this beautiful building that we have today that was dedicated in 1921. And if you look upstairs, you'll notice we have two sets of chairs. Okay? We've got three that are kind of on an angle. On this side, my left. That's generally where the presiding priests sit. Behind it, though, there's another set of three chairs up against the wall. And that middle chair, that's the cathedral. All right, so technically, only the bishop sits in that one chair. I've heard that maybe some altar boys tried to kind of sneak in and have a quick sit down. It's not supposed to happen. But that's where you'll locate our cathedral. It's back against the wall. So the pastor of this parish is the bishop, Bishop Peter. But because Bishop Peter has to be everywhere in this diocese and the state, he appoints someone in his place that we refer to as the rector. And that is Father O. Okay? Today he's going to be speaking to us about not just this chapel in Antarctica, but what it means to be Catholic, and it means, come on, dazzle them. Universal. There is a global dimension to the Roman Catholic Church. And we have one big tent. Under this big tent, we've got a lot of different ways of being Catholic. And today we're going to have a chance to explore this with our primary source. Sorry, a little history. Primary source is someone who's lived it. All right. The secondary source is someone who is researching it after the fact. Father O is a primary source. He was born and raised in Colombia. All right. That's the first Catholic church he comes to understand. But now he's with us here in the United States. So he's lived this. He is a part of this global reach of the Roman Catholic Church. Ladies and gentlemen, Father Germán Osorio.
Thank you, Juan. Good morning. I would like to thank the Knights of Columbus before they disappear for sponsoring coffee and goodies today. Thank you, Knights of Columbus. Yeah. All right. Yes, as John said, I was born and raised in Colombia, and I came to the U.S. back in 2002. I was in my early 20s, and now I am in my late 40s. So it's been quite an experience. So I'm going to start with this anecdote. Obviously, I came as a seminarian. I used to live in the training house, now known as Prasanti House. That was the house for discernment and formation to priesthood. for the Diocese of Boise. Okay? And so seminarians like me at that time, coming from different countries, must live for at least for 1 year in that house, with two goals. Number one, to learn English, and number two, to know the American culture. Okay, so those were the goals for living in the training house. And so the first time when I came, and I was so scared. I was listening to the Spanish that my brothers seminarians spoke, which was not the Colombian accent Spanish. Okay, and so it was from Guatemala and Mexico, and there was another one from El Salvador, I guess. I mean, we speak Spanish, but the accent and some words change. And so that was kind of my first moment to wake up to a new culture. Okay. Then I was looking so badly to come to Sunday Mass. So as to be, if I recall well, the first Sunday Mass that I attended in the U.S. Was right here at St. John's Cathedral. And so the seminarians were taken to Sunday Mass, 10 o'clock. And so they started obviously in English and the music, which I love. The churchy music in English is my favorite. I love it. And so I was admiring the cathedral, but then I was thinking, I don't understand anything. I don't understand anything. I know what is going on. I know what the priest is doing. I know what this minister is doing. I know now is the time for the readings, and then comes the gospel, and then the preaching, and so on and so forth. So that, me knowing what was going on without understanding any single word that was said or sung, that was a shaking moment for me. Okay, but at the same time, I was feeling home, because we do basically the same thing for Mass. What changes is the language, the place, and the minister. Okay, but the celebration as such, the celebration itself, doesn't change. And so I was feeling some comfort, even though I didn't understand anything at the time. But that was this culture shaken moment that I experienced being part of the church. So that's basically what my first anecdote is about coming to the U.S. and experiencing the global church, the universal church, the Catholic Church, like John said, being present everywhere. So in Colombia, I was born in this small town in the middle of the mountains. Okay? I don't know if you remember who Pablo Escobar was, but he loved that little area over there because it was literally in the middle of the jungle. And so it was very easy for him and his people to hide. Okay, and so that to tell you, there's a small town in the middle of the mountains, and very religious town. In Colombia, basically 90% of the population is Roman Catholic. Even those who deny it, they are Catholics. And so there was a lot of things going on in my hometown from the parish, the priest, the pastor, doing a lot of things to keep our faith alive and strong. And so that's basically the things that I'm going to share with you, my friends, how it happens in a small town in the middle of the mountains, and happen in a beautiful city like Boise, and a majestic cathedral like ours. The church is present everywhere. So the things that we do over there, that you guys don't do here, doesn't mean that we are doing things right and you guys are not, or vice versa. What it means is that there are many ways to express our faith in one Jesus, in one church. Okay, different ways, but it doesn't mean that the message is changed. The message changes. It doesn't mean that we have a different way to do church. No, it's just different expressions, different moments depending on the culture. Okay. And before we go to the slides from my short presentation on PowerPoint, my first Holy Week in the US, holy cow. Man, I was expecting no one going to work, no school for anyone, everybody coming to church, the streets being basically empty because people were quiet and coming to church. Because that's how it is in Colombia, at least at that time. I've not been in Colombia for a Holy Week since 2002. So I don't know if that's been changing or not. The same for Christmas. Long time without having Christmas at home. So the experience I had on my first Holy Week in the US, I was expecting a huge procession on the streets for Palm Sunday, for Good Friday, the Stations of the Cross, but nothing. And so I remember the vocation director at that time took all the seminarians, me included. I think it was, can't remember what parishes it was, but it was here in the area. Maybe it was St. Mark's, I don't know. Don't remember well. And so I was expecting all these people and the ministers getting ready for procession and everything else. No, the Stations of the Cross that I was used to do and see on the streets outside with lots of people was done in the church. And we were following station by station around the church. And I was thinking, is that it? You know, but again, it doesn't mean that we are doing things wrong or right. It's not about comparing who does it well and who does it not as it's supposed to be. It's just ways for us to express the only faith that we got in one God and one Lord as one church. All right. Let me turn this guy here this way. So we go, which one?
The big
The big one, and the middle. All right. Global church, popular religiosity, expressions of faith among the people of God. Everywhere. I'm sure that the Filipino community will have something to say about how they express the faith that we all have in one God. They will have their own ways to express that faith. Okay? And the same for people in Mexico. Maybe Mirejita could even share with us some thoughts about it, the way that they express their faith over there, which is and sometimes different of how we do it in Colombia. So, but again, it's not for us to compare, it's not a competition, it's not for us to judge. It's just expressions of faith based on culture. Okay? Oh, did I move it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, here we go. What is popular religiosity? Can you say that word? Religiosity. You know what I mean. Popular religiosity refers to the religious expressions and devotion that arise naturally among the faithful, okay? Based on their culture. It shows how people live their faith in daily life through prayers, symbols, traditions, and cultural celebrations. Think, for example, as we are going to mention later on, quinceañeras, for example. That's a good example. We don't do quinceañeras in Colombia. You guys don't do quinceañeras in the US. The Mexican community does. And guess what? It is spreading all around the world, the quinceañeras. Yeah. And so that's one way to express gratitude towards God, the author of life, for the birthday, the 15th birthday of a girl. And that's it. Is anything wrong with that? Nothing. Is it beautiful? Sure, because we are supposed to be thankful to God. Okay? But the fact that some places, some cultures do not celebrate quinceañeras, again, that doesn't mean that they don't know anything. It doesn't mean that they are doing things wrong. No. It's just a way to express their faith and gratitude. It complements, but does not replace, the official liturgy of the church. Okay? So it's not that I'm going to do the Stations of the Cross on the street so that everybody can see that I am a faithful person. And because I do that, I'm not coming to Sunday Mass. No. That's not the goal. And that's the thing that some people used to do rosary 3 times a day, now maybe 4 times, with the different mysteries of the rosary. In the morning, the joyful rosary, the joyful mysteries. In the middle of the morning, the sorrowful, and then the glorious, and then the luminous. And because some cultures do that, my friends, some cultures gather in the church to do that. Do they work? I don't know. But yeah, but some people do that, and it doesn't mean that that's going to be an excuse for people not to attend Sunday Mass. No way. So popular religiosity, that is not meant to replace the official liturgy of the church. Okay? The church teaching. This is taken from the Directory on Popular Piety and the Liturgy from 2001 by the Congregation of Divine Worship and the Discipline of the Sacraments. The various forms of piety which, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, develop among the faithful around the sacraments, devotions, and sacred images. For example, let's go back to the Mexican community, which is the stronger Hispanic community in the area, in the diocese, and in the U.S. for that matter. The fact that every Mexican house, in every Mexican house, you will find a picture of Our Lady Guadalupe, right? Yes. Any Mexican house you go to, it will be hard not to find a picture of Our Lady Guadalupe. If you don't have it at home, does that mean that you're doing something wrong, that you have to confess that because that's a sin? No. No. It's just an expression, cultural expression of the one same faith we all have in Jesus. Okay? And I'm going to mention some examples along the way here. There you go. Examples of popular religiosity, processions and pilgrimages. Lady Guadalupe, for example. Okay? People who go to Holy Land. People who go to Fatima. Okay? I haven't gone to Fatima on pilgrimage. Does that mean that I need to go to Bishop Peter and confess that as a sin? No. No. Okay? Devotions like the Rosary, novenas. Do we know what a novena is? You do novena, meaning 9 days, saying and praying every day, now for 9 days, novena, to a specific saint for a specific intention. Okay? Lighting candles, that's something very popular, I think, everywhere in the Catholic Church, to light a candle and say a prayer. So people don't do it, but they are not doing anything wrong. We who do it, fine, because that helps you to connect to God. Okay? Be careful with candles at home, though. I don't want you to burn your house down because of a candle. Let instead the fire of the Holy Spirit consume you. That will be different. Be careful with the candles at home, people of God. Okay. Blessings and traditions, posadas, blessing of animals, quinceañeras, home blessing, for example. By the way, feel free to invite Father Tim and or me to bless your house. Dinner included. We're always more than happy to visit your house, bless your house, share with you around the table. If it is a cup of coffee, fine. But home blessing is also a good way to express our faith in God. God, please, I open the doors of my house. Come on in, stay with me. It's a way to express that. Some other people will say, I don't need to do that. I just, in my prayer, invite Jesus home, and that's it. Fine. Okay? All right. Home altars and sacred images. I love this when I visit homes for home blessing. They have a little table in one of the corners of the living room or somewhere around the house. A table with a cloth and then an image of any of the saints. Saint Jude, for example, is very, very common as well among the Hispanic population, having a statue of Saint Jude. The crucifix, the Holy Bible, things like that. It's just having a little altar at home. Do you have one? Why not, right? It's not going to hurt having one. But if you don't, it's fine. See how easy it is to express our faith? Because this popular religiosity is not there to change our liturgy as a church. Okay? Patron saint days and fiestas for different memorials of the saints. Okay? Questions so far? I mean, this that I'm sharing with you today is nothing theological or anything like that. It's just the way we express, the way human people express our Catholic faith. Okay? Right. Why it matters? It keeps faith alive in daily life. It helps us a lot to be connected to God every day. If you have a picture of Mama Mary somewhere, or the crucifix, or any of the saints, when you look at it, you remember, oh gosh, forgive my sins and be with me throughout the day. Something like that. Okay? The same in your car, for example. Okay? Not as an amulet or decoration. May that religious object, religious image that you have be an instrument, a tool for you to help you connect with Jesus. Okay? Oh, man. What am I doing? Okay. Popular religiosity evangelizes culture and builds community. If you haven't come to any of the celebrations done previous years of Our Lady of Guadalupe on December the 12th, you will see how that devotion, how that popular religiosity that comes from Mexico builds community among them. And it is, in a good sense of the word, contaminating us as well. Because I've seen a lot of the Anglo community joining the Mexican community for the celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe. I promise you, it's always beautiful. It's always beautiful. Okay? And again, now you have another way to look at it, because it's their way to express their faith and their love for the Mother of God, which is the same Immaculate Mary, which is the same Fatima, which is the same Mount Carmel Virgin, is the same. Is the same Virgin. Okay? It also helps us to express people's love, suffering, and hope. For example, you have a picture of Our Lady of Sorrows, her heart being pierced by a sword 7 times, the 7 sorrows of the Blessed Virgin Mary. If you happen to have some difficulties in your life, look at that picture of Mother Mary suffering herself for giving her son to us, and see that there is someone who is so holy, Mother Mary, understanding your pain, being with you as you suffer. Okay? And And that image brings hope as well. So that's how we use our popular religiosity. Deepens connection to the church and the sacraments. That's the main goal. That all the devotions that we have and celebrate in the Catholic Church as individuals or as a community, those things are meant to help us to connect to the church and the sacraments. Okay? It's not because I'm doing a novena to Saint Luke that will allow me not to attend Sunday Mass or come to confession. No, that's not the goal. Reflection. Popular religiosity is the heart of faith lived by the people. When guided by the church, it becomes a bridge between culture and the gospel, bringing the sacred into the ordinary moments of life. Okay? I laugh, in a good sense of the word, at some of the Colombian people that are coming to Boise, and they ask me, so when they know that I am also from Colombia, they come to me and they ask me, Father, are we going to do this, and that as we do in Colombia? And I look at them and I said, no. And so the question comes immediately, why, Father, why not? Because that's not the way that the people from the U.S. express their faith as we do in Colombia. So we don't do that. Okay? So it's funny to see how the cycle is repeated with people coming and maybe thinking that the same things that we do in Colombia are the same things done everywhere in any Catholic church. No. About popular religiosity, no. About the sacraments and about the teaching of the church, yes. So when we see some expressions of faith from different cultures, we are not to criticize, we are not to judge. Okay? St. Patrick's dinner, for example, that's a big one. St. Patrick's. We don't do that in Colombia. No. And so being here, I learned that is huge for some community, for the Irish community, right? There you go. So that's their way to express their faith. Okay? The Filipino community, and I learned this in Mountain Home. I had a good Filipino community within Mountain Home when I was pastor over there. And they celebrate the Santo Niño, the child Jesus, in January. Guys, it's huge for them. That is huge for them. And they dress in their own costumes, the Filipino dressing for both males and females and the kids, and they all bring their own image of Santo Niño, baby Jesus, and they dance. They dance around with the statue of Santo Niño, and that's huge for them. We don't do that. We don't do that. And so when you pass by and say, what are they doing? Is that a cult? But no, it's the same Catholic people expressing their faith in their own way, their own culture. Okay? Well, okay. Processions. I think this picture is taken in Spain, right? One? No. Or C. Okay. Spain. Oh, yeah, I can see the flag over there. So that is a procession of Good Friday in Spain. We don't do that here. Okay. And that's their way to express their faith. Our Lady of Guadalupe. The big statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And they dance around the statue. They bring some danza group to dance around the statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe, because the meaning of dancing is prayer. Those who dance are praying. And we say those who sing are praying, according to the teaching of St. Augustine. The one who sings, prays twice. The one who sings well. Just kidding. And so, again, let this be another opportunity for me to invite all of you to join us on December the 12th for the celebration of Our Lady Guadalupe. It's going to be beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And the blessing of the animals. You see your two priests right there. This happened about a couple of weeks ago, October the 3rd, on the celebration of St. Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of animals. So that's why we offer a special blessing to the pets, okay? To honor St. Francis of Assisi. Again, and when you invite a priest over to your house for a blessing, if you have a pet, you can also request a blessing for your pet, okay? With dinner included. I'm allergic to chocolate, by the way. Just in case. Okay, blessing of the animals. The Jubilee years that the church offers, for example, this year is a Jubilee year, the year of hope. And it's happening this year. It's about to conclude, though. But those are, again, ways to know that God, the Lord of time, blesses our time, and that He is with us as we celebrate the Jubilee year. And this year happens to be the year of hope. Okay? So you see our beloved bishop right there, Holy Father, and the other guy. Yeah. Okay. Who's that?
Really?
Yeah. That's me when I went to Holy Land in a pilgrimage. Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. It was in 2019, like days before COVID. Days before COVID. So yeah, pilgrimage is another way to express our faith. There are people who cannot go on a pilgrimage for whatever reason, money, health, whatever. Does that mean that they are committing a sin because they don't go on a pilgrimage? No. No. But if you want, and if you can, do it. It's fun. It's really good. You're going on a pilgrimage. So this one was, we spent 1 week in Rome, in Italy, and 1 more week in Holy Land. It was really good. Good experience. First time me being on a pilgrimage. Very good. Oh, done. Okay. Questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
Is there somewhere that we can find all of these different traditions from all the different cultures? Is there like one place?
Ooh, good question.
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But the time when we see all these different expressions of faith based on culture is Holy Week and Christmas. Huge, huge. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Where do holy relics fall in this discussion?
Popular religiosity.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And wearing medals and everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So,
I think the question was where do the relics actually do relics count as part of this religiosity?
yes. Yes, it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not an obligation for anyone to have a relic of a saint, and it's not an obligation for anyone to wear the scapular, or if it is part of your personal religiosity, then do it. If that helps you to be always connected to God, do it. Okay? Sir?
I know like Protestants and evangelicals, they might say that this would be seen as like graven images. How would you kind of defend against that?
But by that you mean idols?
Yes.
Okay. Well, like I shared with you guys the other day, when I spoke about the Virgin and the saints, and part of what I shared right now. In any time, in any moment or minute, I mention anything about the saints taking the place of God, right? If any of the saints or Mama Mary help you to always be with Jesus, if you need that extra help that is there, use it. Saints and Mama Mary are spiritual resources that we have in the Catholic Church to be always with Jesus. Okay, so I think that the main idea from the Protestant theology about idols is that we preach and believe that that saint over there that is made by in wood or any other material is going to do me a miracle or give me salvation. No, it's not that. The only one that brings salvation is Jesus. The saints help us to be with Jesus. The saints help us to please God. But that's the only way. I know that there are a lot of theological and biblical explanations for that, but a practical answer is that the saints and Mama Mary do not take the place of God in my life, in the life of the church, in the theology of the Roman Catholic Church. No way. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
One last one.
I need to rest for the 10:30 Mass. And I was telling Pat that it was a battle for me this morning to get up. Oh boy. Okay, guys, thank you for your faith. Love Jesus and allow yourself to be loved by Him in return. Amen.
Thank you, Father Osorio. Once again, every week in the bulletin, we have the upcoming schedule. Draw your attention, next week, we're not going to have a formal fraternitas set up. Instead, it's our annual ministry fair. So following the 8 a.m. Mass, we're going to have various tables and information of the various ministries that we have here. And it's going to be a great opportunity to follow up on, well, the truism, don't just go to church, be the church. So you'll have a chance to explore that next week. And now, also, to follow up in the bulletin, what we wanted to conclude with now, oftentimes when it comes to Catholicism, critics correctly point out, well, they just made that stuff up. The word abortion is not in the Bible. So why is it a big deal for the Roman Catholic Church? Where did that come from? Speaking on this is one of our members of our pro-life ministry here at the cathedral. So we want to call forward now Pat Oldman. Pat?
Okay, so before I begin my talk this morning, John wanted me to talk about how I got involved with the pro-life ministry. So to do that, we need to go back about 13 years to 2012. I was living and working in Seattle and read that rallies were being planned all across the country to protest Obama's health care plan, otherwise known as Obamacare. And on January 20th in 2012, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services unveiled a new policy which has come to be known as the HHS mandate. So a new mandate would require nearly all private health insurance plans to include coverage for all FDA-approved prescription contraceptive drugs and devices, surgical sterilizations, and abortion-inducing drugs. So I began to look for information about a Seattle rally, but couldn't find any. And I thought, well, surely somebody's on this. And then I heard this voice that said, not you, then who? If not now, then when? So I think I contacted somebody that I knew from another parish. We got 5 or 6 people together and we organized we organized this rally. So we got the necessary permits in March, in June, and in October, and we sponsored these Stand Up for Religious Freedom rallies that were being held nationwide, and we organized them in Seattle. For the October rally, we urged participants to begin at St. James Cathedral and march nearly a mile to the federal courthouse steps, complete with 13 motorcycle escorts. Nationwide, 450 individual rallies were held in 230 cities and towns across the country, with attendance toppling 150,000 people. These rallies energized widespread opposition to the mandate. So from there, I was involved with life issues at the parish level, arranging for a bus to take parishioners from my parish to Olympia each year for the March for Life, and organizing prayer warriors for 40 Days for Life. And then I designed a memorial to the unborn outside of my church and received permission to coordinate financial and labor donations to make it happen. So I'm a prodigal Idahoan, and 7.5 years ago I returned. And for the first couple of years, I volunteered at a local pregnancy resource center. And about a year ago, my partner in crime, Karen Simpkins, and I decided to spearhead an effort to increase the Respect Life presence here at St. John's, and we've decided to focus our efforts on education and Catholic teaching on the life issues. So a year ago, we had a presentation on assisted reproduction, natural family planning, and the church's teaching against IVF and surrogacy and the reasons why. And then we had a presentation about the pill and contraception. This morning's presentation will address abortion. And finally, we will have a presentation on end-of-life issues. So stay tuned. All of these topics will be covered through the year. This morning, we are going to talk about abortion and the Catholic Church's teaching. So, I want to read to you what the Catechism of the Catholic Church says. So, human life must be respected and protected absolutely from the moment of conception. From the first moment of his existence, a human being must be recognized as having the rights of a person, among which is the inviolable right of every innocent being to life. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately wrought in the depths of the earth. Since the first century, the Church has affirmed the moral evil of every procured abortion. This teaching has not changed and remains unchangeable. Direct abortion, that is to say, abortion willed either as an end or a means, is gravely contrary to the moral law. You shall not kill the embryo by abortion, and shall not cause a newborn to perish. God, the Lord of life, has entrusted to men the noble mission of safeguarding life, and men must carry it out in a manner worthy of themselves. Life must be protected with the utmost care from the moment of conception. Abortion and infanticide are abominable crimes. Formal cooperation in an abortion constitutes a grave offense. The Church attaches a canonical penalty of excommunication to the crime against human life. A person who procures a completed abortion incurs excommunication late sententiae, which means by the very commission of the offense, subject to conditions provided by canon law. The Church does not thereby intend to restrict the scope of mercy. Rather, she makes clear the gravity of the crime committed, the irreparable harm done to the innocent who is put to death, as well as the parents and the whole of society. The inalienable right to life of every innocent human individual is a constituent element of a civil society and its legislation. The inalienable rights of the person must be recognized and respected by civil society and the political authority. These human rights depend neither on single individuals nor on parents, nor do they represent a concession made by society and the state. They belong to human nature and are inherent to the person by virtue of the creative act from which the person took his origin. Among such fundamental rights, one should maintain in this regard every human being's right to life and physical integrity from the moment of conception until death. The moment of positive law deprives a category of human beings in the protection which civil legislation ought to accord them. The state is denying the equality of all before the law when the state does not place power at the service of the rights of each civilian, and in particular of the more vulnerable. The very foundations of a state based on law are undermined. As a consequence of the respect and protection which must be ensured for the unborn child from the moment of conception, the law must provide appropriate penal sanctions for every deliberate violation of the child's rights. Since it must be treated from conception as a person, the embryo must be defended in its integrity and cared for and healed as far as possible, like any other human being. Prenatal diagnosis is morally licit if it respects the life and integrity of the embryo and the human fetus and is directed toward its safeguarding or healing as an individual. It is gravely opposed to the moral law when this is done with the thought of possibly inducing an abortion, depending upon the results. A diagnosis must not be the equivalent of a death sentence. One must hold as licit procedures carried out on the human embryo which respect the life and integrity of the embryo and do not involve disproportionate risk for it, but are directed toward its healing, the improvement of its condition of health, or its individual survival. It is immoral to produce human embryos intended for exploitation as disposable biological material. Certain attempts to influence chromosomic or genetic inheritance are not therapeutic but are aimed at producing human beings selected according to sex or other predetermined qualities. Such manipulations are contrary to the personal dignity of the human being and his integrity and identity, which are unique and unrepeatable. So here's a brief review of the methods of abortion. There's medical abortion, Plan B, which can act as an abortifacient. Then there's Ella, which can also act as an abortifacient. Both are known as the morning after pill. And then you have the pill and the IUD, both of which can act as abortifacients. And then there's mifepristone, which stops pregnancy, and misoprostol, which induces contractions. And then we have surgical abortions, which are gruesome and brutal in their dismemberment methods. So what about an ectopic pregnancy? One where the fetus is growing in the fallopian tube and poses a risk to both mother and baby. Sometimes a woman's life may be put at risk by a pregnancy. In such cases, if there is no way to save both the baby and the mother, it is morally permissible to perform an operation that saves the mother but indirectly results in the death of the baby. The unintended consequence is that the baby does not live. The death of the growing baby is not the intention. Here's a good resource for you if you want more detailed or complete information about what the church teaches. So I would like to read a transcript of an interview question with Father Paul Scalia regarding abortion and the church's appropriate response. So the question posed to Father Scalia is, as a priest, how do you see abortion and overall the culture of death? His answer: a lot of people view the church's reaction as a political one because that's what's in the news. But the church's reaction to this is primarily pastoral. The care for souls, the care for lives. So it's most of all in caring for women, pregnant women who might be tempted toward abortion, and caring for women who have had abortions and who are struggling with and suffering from the wounds that come from abortion. So most of the church's work is not so much in the public as it is in the confessional, in counseling, in those ways. I think every priest sees the wounds of abortion and how it can harm relationships, leave deep wounds within a soul, not just of the women who have had abortions, but with the men who have failed in their duties or pressured someone to have an abortion. And there is great pain and regret and fear that they can't be forgiven. The church's message is a strong condemnation of abortion, but it even stronger message of reconciliation for those who have participated in or in procuring an abortion. So we have to have those two things in mind and not want to compromise on the truth, but neither do we want to use the truth as a billy club to beat people over the head in order to get them to come along our way. It's not primarily a political issue. It's not primarily a cultural issue. It's an issue of individuals who have been misled, who have made bad decisions or are in danger of it, and who are suffering. So many here have been either directly or indirectly affected by abortion. Some may avow, well, personally, I don't believe abortion is okay, but I support pro-choice for others. That's like saying, personally, I don't believe in slavery, but if others want to have slaves, then that's okay. Do not look to current politicians and their dissent as representative of church teaching. If you have difficulty with the Catholic Church's teaching about the inviolability of human life and its position on abortion, you need to pray. Seek the good counsel of one of our priests. We don't need any more cafeteria Catholics. Those who pick and choose which teaching on faith and morals they want to follow. You can't be Catholic and be pro-choice. So, sorry. Darkness or evil is not some powerful force fighting against God. It's the absence of God. Just like darkness is the absence of light. Satan and his demons do not try to impose the dark power of evil on us. Rather, they seek to extinguish the presence of God. They seek to extinguish the presence of God in our lives by getting us to reject God through our choices, thus leaving us in spiritual darkness. We are enticed to accept, justify, or even promote abortion, which extinguishes God's will. Satan, who is a liar and a murderer from the beginning, knows it wounds the heart of the Father and causes chaos on earth. You see, abortion is actually the sacrament of Satan, because abortion says, you must die so I can live. But Christ says, no, I must die so you can live. And he chooses to enter human history in a uterus of all locations to redeem mankind from their sins. This is why Dr. Peter Kreeft, a contemporary Catholic philosopher, said, don't you know abortion is a demonic parody of the Eucharist? That is why it uses the same holy words. This is my body, with the blasphemous opposite meaning. Do you think it's a coincidence that the central phrase of the Holy Sacrifice, the Mass, is used in this demonic parody? Overcoming the evil one is done by inviting the light of Christ into our lives and not allowing fear or sin to turn us from the light.
Thank you, Pat.